What's up, guys? Welcome back. Salty Collector here. Today I just wanted to talk about some of the items that I have been picking up over the last week or two, and then some of the items that I'm monitoring and watching that I want to either invest in or pick up as inventory for the business. Some will be sealed items, and there will be also some singles as well for your single fiends there that are looking to either flip singles or bring singles into their collection. If this is the type of content you guys like, please like and subscribe. Let me know if this is what you guys want to see and the type of content you want. So let's dive into it. All right, so first item, Paldea Evolved. So I haven't actually picked up any of this item yet. I do have a case and a booster box currently in my investment inventory. But I've been looking at this item. I've been monitoring it over the last week or so. And, over the last month, it has been either flat or stagnant. So you can see here, topping off around the 450 range, going to down to 444, but kind of levering off in the 450. And if you look at the items that you could actually buy, you can see 445, 451. Again, very stagnant, very flat. I feel like it's been very flat for, the past month or so, 2 months. I think that this set is definitely a set that could take off, have its next leg up soon. I think if you were to accumulate some boxes, you could see some good returns in the next 6 months to a year. Of course, if you're planning to hold longer, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, you'll obviously see much higher growth over that time frame. But even for a kind of a short-term aspect, I think Paldea Evolved booster boxes are a great option. Take a look in your area. I know on Marketplace, I saw some individuals selling this for around the 400 range. If you can pick this up, for 400, maybe you can get a 390 if you're lucky. I think it's a great pickup, something you guys should definitely be looking out for. Following up with, my last week's video, Surging Sparks, I think is still a great buy. I think a lot of people in the hobby right now are talking about Surging Sparks. There's a lot of inventory right now in the vending machines, and people are picking them up and selling them at relatively, I would say, cheap prices relative to booster boxes. Surging Sparks, I think, is a top 3 set in the Scarlet and Violet era, but because of the supply right now, obviously it's a bit depressed. Twilight Masquerade, I think, is selling for around 300, but you can still get a Surging Sparks box for around 250 in your local market. You can see, they're selling pretty consistently 245, 256, 245, and I think for like a big seller down here, that's only 1,800 sales. But going to the kind of the second page here, big sellers, we're starting to get in the 270 range, and then 275. So I think there's still a lot on the market, so I don't think this is going to be a fast mover. I think you have some time to accumulate here. I think in Facebook Marketplace, I've been seeing some ranging from 225 to 235. Like, people are dumping these for a quick profit. So if you consider MSRP is 161 plus tax if you were to buy from a vending machine, so you're thinking about what, 180, 190 with tax depending on your state. And people are selling these for 225. So they're taking 10, 15, 20% margin on a product that I think come next year, especially when it's out of print, you're going to have some nice returns on. So I think Surging Sparks is a buy. If you can find it locally, pick them up. You have time to accumulate, so you don't have to go dump all your cash at once. But definitely keep that in mind as you're looking in your local marketplaces and on eBay for auctions as well. The next item, of course, that I mentioned last week as well, Prismatic Evolutions. I just picked up another one a couple days ago. And I also, I don't know if you're familiar, but GameStop has some pre-orders that you can pre-order. You can pick up, 1 if you're not a pro member, and 2 if you're a pro member. I would definitely recommend going and, reserving those. You can always return it and get your money back if you end up not purchasing it. I think they're selling for around 300. But I think Prismatic, everyone talks about it. This isn't some secret, I think. A lot of people in the hobby know about this. But if you can pick up Prismatic Evolutions right now, I think it's a great buy. Obviously, it's had its recent dip here. I think these SPCs on the market are about to jump up to 350 again. As you can see, there's only one seller here in that 335 range. And then we're getting back to the 350s, 360s, 370s on these SPCs. So I think your GameStop purchase is a great purchase if you're looking to acquire some. Locally, I've been seeing them range anywhere from 310 to 320. Again, people dumping these from picking them up from like I believe there was a was a Best Buy drop or some drop somewhere on these guys. I've picked a couple up for around 300. If you can get them for 300, snap buy. I think you have very low risk with this product, and I think come next year when it's out of print, you're going to see crazy returns. People have been comparing it to 151. I don't know if it'll do exactly what 151 did, and I don't know what the market will look like next year. Obviously, people think we're going to keep booming the same, and even I'm getting a little nervous on how crazy it feels. Like you can't lose in this market. Buy anything and you're winning. So welcome to the bull market, I guess. But definitely a good purchase. And then following through with that, ETBs, still finding them in my area for the 155, 160 range. You're finding them on TCG Player. I talked about this last week. Again, Walmart dropped a bunch of these, a bunch of ETBs, and that's depressed the price. Now is when you guys should be accumulating, right? So you can see here we had a huge run up, and now you can see the dip. You can see it's starting to flatten out here in this last section here. Now is your time to accumulate. If you don't have a big position in Prismatic and you want to hold this as an investment long term, definitely something I think you should purchase during this dip. I don't know how long it will dip for, maybe a month if we're lucky. Again, this market's super unpredictable, but definitely keep that in mind when you're looking at Prismatic. And then I just wanted to showcase this, Prismatic selling for 155, 160, 165. Ascended Heroes is essentially the same price right now. And you can see Ascended Heroes has gone through massive growth. And if I'm looking at this market and I'm thinking about what I want to buy, I think Ascended Heroes is a great set. I opened a bunch recently, I just to get a feel for the set. I opened some. My biggest hit being the Mega Diancie, so no big hits for me. But I think if you're looking at these prices for these ETBs, I have to go to like the third page, but for 160, 155, you can buy the same Prismatic ETB for the same price. It's a year older. It's going to come out of print faster. I think you'll see more returns in a Prismatic ETB compared to an Ascended Heroes ETB over the next year. Long term, anybody's guess, but that's just my feeling. Jumping into some singles cards. I know you guys love the singles cards. If you're into singles, I do look at singles for flipping in a short term. I don't invest in singles personally, but I do like to keep inventory churning in my eBay. So this is one of the things I've been doing for my business. Prismatic Evolutions, I think you can't go wrong with any of the SIRs in the set. I still think they're probably a pretty good price, even though they have seen a spike recently. But one of the cards I mentioned last week as well, Roaring Moon, I think this is still a fantastic card. I love this card. You can see, I think it looks like it recently went through a little spike. But you can see here, it's been relatively flat for a while. If I go to the 6-month chart, you can see this depressing and then slight uptick here. So this is the time you want to acquire this card, right? Let me put the condition on here. This is the time you want to acquire this card. You can see here, market's getting pretty thin before it jumps up into the 200, 250 range. So this card's getting very thin on the market. I think this card is going to run up soon. So if I was you, if I was looking to pick this up, maybe check eBay, check your local area, maybe a PSA 10 version if you're into the grading side. I think this is a great card to pick up, and it may spike soon. Jumping into Surging Spark singles, I know I talked a lot about the Pikachu, the Latios, and the Latias last time. I'm going to talk maybe about a little bit more of an obscure card that I really like. I've always thought this Skarmory is a great artwork, and I've always liked Skarmory as a Pokemon personally. So I think this card could be a good pickup, mainly because I like the card. You can see here, it's run up a little bit, couple bucks. It's at like $8 right now, I think. Yeah, $8.75. I think this card, as the set goes out of print, I think you could easily double your money on this card. This card's a little cheaper, so if you want to buy 10, 20, 30 of them, you can have some inventory as well. Like for me, I like to have some inventory for my business. So some of these cards I'm looking to pick up maybe on the cheaper range so that I can keep people purchasing from my eBay website where a lot of the demand is. And then hopefully funnel them with my business cards to my sealed product website where I'm selling my inventory to grow. So that's one of my strategies. Jumping into Destined Rivals, again, another good set. I talked about the illustration rares. The SARs, I think, are good purchases. I'm going to talk about the second page illustration rares today. A couple of them that have piqued my interest. This Rapidash, I think, could be a good purchase. Again, Gen 1 Pokemon. Team Rocket's Raticate. Again, Gen 1 Pokemon, Team Rocket's Raticate. I actually love the art on this card. I think it's really good. I think these are some of the cards as well you can think about picking up. You can pick up more of a sizable portion if that's something you're into. Again, it's down from its highs. You can see Destined Rivals. A lot of these cards are kind of flatlining and starting to go up. So I think now is your time to purchase some of these cards that aren't on everyone's radar, right? You want to get in before everyone's funneling money into them. So I think Rapidash, the Raticate, I think some of the ones on the first page I talked about last week are all good purchases that you can make. And then finally, I've started to look into some Mega Evolutions cards. I think some of these illustration rares that have depressed quite considerably could be some good purchases. I think the Steelix you can get in a PSA 10 for like 60, 70 bucks. I think that's a steal. But I really like this card. I always liked Steelix, when I was playing the Pokemon games back as a kid. But you can see, again, depressed. It's kind of flatlined here and started to stabilize. This is a good time to accumulate some of these cards. So I may look to pick up, 10, 20, 30 of these for my collection, and then also for selling, for inventory, for flipping. So I would look into the Steelix. I really like this Vulpix as well. If you look here, the Vulpix, I really like this card as well. I think this is a great card. Gen 1 Pokemon again. And you can see it has started to see a little rise. So I do think this card is something you may want to pick up a bit quicker than the Steelix, as it's a bit more flatlined. But I do think this card is going to have a good return over the next year or two. And then, of course, you have the Marshadow here as well. So the Marshadow here haven't had its huge run in the beginning. It's obviously depressed way down from its highs. It does still have the Pikachu here in the front, and people love their Pikachus as a Gen 1 Pokemon. You can see it's been pretty flat since its, crazy $92 sales back when it first released. I think this card is also a card you can pick up, $12, $13, $14. It looks like this is lightly played. Let's change that. $12, $15, $13, $15. I think this is also a good pickup. And then finally, going into Journey Together. I also talked about Journey Together last time. Again, I'll call these cards out again. Lily's Clefairy, Salamence, and Zoroark, I think are super undervalued. I think these are great pickups. I think you'll do well on these in the next year or two. And they don't break the bank even. Lily's Clefairy, top hit in the set is running around 100 to 115, and people go crazy for Lily's. Maybe the trainer craze comes back again. You never know where things could go. So I would be picking up those cards. Another card I'm looking at is this In's Reshiram. I think this has been starting to get some visibility. It's a great card. Obviously, it doesn't have the stamp for you stamp folks out there, but it is still a pretty good card, pretty good artwork, a popular Pokemon, and it's not crazy high relative to some of the other sets. It has started to go on a little bit of a run here, so keep that in mind if you're looking to pick it up. That's all I got today, guys. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram for more shorter clips. I'll keep posting videos on my business and investment journey. I think next week I'm going to talk a little bit about how I've been packing cards and some of the products that I've gotten to ship my cards, how I pack them, how I do lower value singles, middle value singles, and what I do for shipping. So that will be a video coming out next week. And then another video I'll have is probably just kind of a market analysis on, the boom, is there any risk for a crash? How are we thinking about this market and investing over the long term, short term? And how can we not only protect and mitigate our risk, but make sure we're also maximizing and taking action to generate a return? So yeah, talk to you guys later.